Hey everybody, Maestro here with Bendu Lightsaber Combat. Today we're going to be talking about two aspects of distance when we're fighting with opponents. Namely, we're going to be talking about closing, getting in very close distance, and then also talking about how to deal with an opponent at range, especially if they have a lightsaber that's unorthodox or exotic. Alright?
Darth Juggernaut here. I prefer to fight with something a little unorthodox here, a lot longer than standard. So we'll cover that a little bit today.
Okay, so when we're facing our opponent, odds are good that if you're in any type of combat situation that's freeform, you're going to end up, whether by your choice or a mistake or the opponent's choice, closing in that distance and getting too close for the saber to be effective. Obviously, there are three primary distances that any weapons fighter is concerned with. And those distances are far distance, where we're too far away to hit each other with a single action. We can't reach each other, we're totally safe. It doesn't matter how good he is, he's not going to hit me from where he's standing. The second distance is the mid distance. That's the distance that we can stand at, that we can strike with one motion. So by taking one small step, that puts his body or his target area within my range. So that's our mid distance. Now if we get any closer than this, we can strike each other and we don't have to move. That's close distance. The distance we're going to be talking about today is the close distance or the extremely close distance, which would be we're close enough to actually physically get into contact with each other. Okay? All right. Okay, so the first thing to note, the first principle to understand if you're going to be a close distance fighter is you want to be the one who chooses to close. If I'm fighting Darth Juggernaut here, and we're getting into it a little bit, and we're trading a few blows and parries and blocks, and I let him creep up on me slowly without my realizing it, all of a sudden, I'm in a very dangerous situation. I didn't want to be here, I'm not ready to be here, and he's going to have the advantage because he has the initiative on his side. He's come forward on me. He understands the distance. I got caught unawares, so I'm not going to be ready to handle him coming in and attacking me at this range. So the first principle is we want to choose to close the distance. Okay, second principle of close infighting. After I've chosen to close, after I've determined that it's within my best interest to close on the opponent, I need to make sure that I've secured the blade before I do so. If Darth Juggernaut here is in a good guard position, and I try to close on him without doing anything to his blade, I'm going to get a saber to the body or the face. Okay? I need to make sure that blade is secure. And it isn't enough to have even if he's taking, say, like a high guard or an off-center guard or anything like that, even if his guard's not pointed directly at me, if I close and don't have a plan to deal with his blade, I'm going to be at his mercy. He could attack me in a lot of different ways. One of the most common mistakes I see people making when they try to close this way is that they watch where the blade is, but they don't plan for where it's going to be. They don't go in and close offensively. They do it defensively. You never want to be on the defense when you're closing. This is an attacking action. I'm going forward to take care of him, not to hide from him. So if I go in with the attitude of I'm hiding behind my block, he's just going to change lines and attack me where I'm not blocking. But I've yielded all my aggressive initiative, so I've stepped in and all he has to do is pick his opening. So whenever I'm closing on the opponent, I want to deal with his blade. There's a lot of different ways to deal with the blade. The most common, the most basic, is we're both in a mid-guard position here, where the tips are facing each other. I can occupy his blade by taking the blade. I can use a parry or a block from this position directly onto his blade, moving his blade off the line at the same time that I come in. So a good example would be if I drop low and going high. Now I've entered, I have control of his blade, and I have the aggressive initiative. So I can make my attack whatever that attack was going to be. Okay, last principle of closing the distance. Once I've chosen to go in, once I've occupied his blade or gotten control of his blade, whether that's through absolutely taking control of it physically or tricking him into yielding his blade to me in whatever way that takes, my next thing to make sure that I'm doing is I don't want to put strength against strength. Now, for this example, it's not a good example because we're both really big guys, we're both really strong guys. He's definitely stronger than me, but it's hard to see it. If I was to go forward and try to force his blade, try to put strength against strength, then if he's stronger than me, or if he's just better at using his strength than me, I'm going to fail. I need to use technique, I need to use leverage, and maximize my power through that leverage. That's a very important principle in the gem sows, maximizing your leverage, or maximizing your power through your leverage. Let me give you an example. Let's say that I've decided that I need to close on him in order to score. And he's taking a lot of hard shots right at my head. Well, that's a perfect setup, because I can get in as he preps to strike my head. So as he preps to strike my head, I'm going to step in and parry. And as I step in, I don't want to push against his blade. I want to let his blade go. I'm going to yield that parry, slide it off. Now, I'm in a good position to take control of his blade. I can apply a control directly to his weapon, and then I can wrap in a lot of different ways. I can attack him directly, or what I can do is I can close in and stay in what's called the shadow of his blade, meaning that I'm so close to him, he can't effectively hit me because he wasn't prepared for this close engagement. So make sure that you're not applying brute strength against brute strength. You always want to apply leveraged power. That's going to be the most effective way to apply yourself in a close infighting situation.
Alright, so what I'd like to go over here is maintaining distance, specifically in the context that if I'm fighting and my weapon is longer than his, if I have a reach advantage, that's something I need to maintain. That's a big advantage to me, and if I let him close to a distance where this factor is mitigated, I'm not doing myself a lot of good by having a weapon that is specialized for fighting at a longer distance. So, ways that I prefer to maintain that distance when it comes to fighting here. Typically, I like to stay out in that far mid distance, because from here, he can hit me with a step, but I can hit him without even moving. He is within reach at this point, and the second he goes to close, what this gives me is this gives me one free attack towards him that he is going to have to respond to before he can try to attack me back. And if I take one step back as he does this, that probably means I'm going to have 2 opportunities to attack him. The other thing about this is one of my main concerns when I fight is drawing my opponent into predictable behaviors. Specifically, what I want to see from him, what I'm trying to provoke as we're fighting, what I'm trying to provoke from him, I'm trying to provoke him to reach for me. Because the second he goes to reach for something, I can disengage, and I can strike for a target And I've not been in much danger at all here. Because I have this reach advantage. And this is something that can be very useful. But if you have an opponent who's good at closing, you can quickly find that the frustration can flip around. I have that opponent, and see there, he caught my saber. If you have an opponent who's very, very good at closing, you're going to have to be especially careful, and you're going to have to maintain that distance even as they are attempting to close on you. And you're going to have to be very careful not to commit to anything until you are certain that you can catch them and do it safely. And that's what I've got there. Thank you very much.